Dubai's skyline dazzles with glass and ambition, but just below the surface, a stark reality emerges. Nearly 30% of its economy depends on real estate, and a single global interest rate hike, just 1%, threatens to wipe billions off its GDP. What happens when the world's most futuristic city bets everything on endless growth and now faces mounting financial and physical pressures? The real story behind Dubai's rise and its uncertain future starts with the choices that built it all. In 1966, a discovery beneath the sands changed the fate of Dubai. Oil found in the Fateh field offshore brought new revenue to a small port city once known for pearl diving and trade dhows. But instead of relying solely on oil, early planners in Dubai's ruling family set their sights on something bigger. They knew reserves were limited, so they looked outward, imagining a crossroads for global commerce. By 1979, their ambitions took shape with the opening of Jebel Ali Port, a deep-water harbor built miles from the old creek. At the time, it was the largest man-made port in the world, designed to handle supertankers and container ships that would connect Europe, Asia, and Africa. The government did not stop with infrastructure. State-led companies like Imar and Nakheel began to transform the coastline and desert, launching projects that would later define Dubai's skyline. These choices reflected both urgency and vision. With oil revenues peaking, leaders pushed for rapid diversification, investing in logistics, aviation, and real estate. The pace was relentless. In just a few decades, Dubai's population multiplied and its reputation shifted from a quiet Gulf outpost to a magnet for global business. The appetite for mega projects, towering hotels, artificial islands, and sprawling malls became a hallmark of the city's strategy. It was fueled by the belief that bold investment could buy a new identity. The roots of today's glittering city trace back to these years, when planners gambled on scale and speed, hoping to secure Dubai's place on the world stage before the oil ran dry. Property now accounts for nearly a third of Dubai's economy, according to Dubai Land Department data. Developers and lenders have come to rely on a cycle of rapid sales, off-plan launches, and easy credit. This approach worked while global rates stayed low, but the landscape has shifted. The International Monetary Fund warns that a single percentage point rise in interest rates can shave up to 3% off Dubai's GDP. That sensitivity is among the highest in the region, exposing the city to external financial shocks. Developers have responded by stacking debt, much of it through bonds and sukuk that mature in clusters. By 2027, a wall of repayments looms, with major issuers like Imar and Nakheel facing deadlines on billions in obligations. Analysts tracking these schedules point to refinancing risks if global liquidity tightens or investor appetite wanes. The weight of real estate also means that physical costs compound financial risk. Each new tower and each artificial shoreline brings maintenance and reserve liabilities that stretch far into the future. These obligations are not always visible in headline numbers, but they sit on balance sheets and in the fine print of service charges. As rates climb and debt piles up, the margin for error narrows. The city's growth model, once buoyed by easy money, now faces a world where credit is more expensive and the consequences of miscalculation are harder to ignore. Palm Jumeirah stretches into the Arabian Gulf, shaped by 94 million cubic meters of sand and shielded by an 11-kilometer breakwater of rock and concrete. The engineering behind this artificial island required divers to survey the seabed and teams to position massive stones, each layer calculated to withstand waves up to 10 meters high. Yet the work did not end when the last stone was set. Saltwater and shifting tides mean that erosion, sand subsidence, and wear on the breakwater are constant challenges. Maintenance demands are relentless. Beach nourishment, dredging, and rock repairs must be scheduled regularly to keep the structure intact. Since opening, Nakheel has logged more than $300 million in repairs, and service charges for owners on Palm Jumeirah run from 10 to 25 United Arab Emirates dirhams per square foot, often higher than elsewhere in Dubai. These fees fund not just landscaping and cleaning, but reserve funds for major works like coastal reinforcement and seawall upgrades. Without continuous investment, the reclaimed land and its luxury properties would face rapid deterioration. The scale of these upkeep costs is rarely publicized, but they represent a long-term liability for both developers and residents. As the years pass, the burden of maintaining such vast engineered landscapes only grows, tying the city's financial health to the durability of its coastline. Every drop of fresh water in Dubai begins as seawater, pushed through energy-hungry desalination plants that line the coast. According to the International Energy Agency, producing 1 cubic meter of water requires 4 to 5 kilowatt hours of electricity, a heavy load in a city where demand for cooling and irrigation never lets up. As Dubai's population and built environment expand, this dependence on water and energy grows. Climate scientists warn that by 2050, average temperatures could rise by 2 to 4 degrees Celsius, while the Arabian Gulf may climb by as much as half a meter. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change projects that these shifts will intensify heat waves and increase the risk of coastal flooding, especially for districts built on reclaimed land. Resource planners are under pressure to find solutions before these risks become unmanageable. Dubai's answer is a sweeping clean energy strategy. The government has set a target: by 2050, 75% of its power should come from renewable sources. The Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Solar Park, now one of the world's largest, is a cornerstone of this plan. Early results show progress, but the scale of desalination and cooling means fossil fuels still dominate today's grid. For now, the city's future depends on how quickly it can close the gap between ambition and reality. How do you see Dubai's resource challenge playing out over the next few decades? Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know if you think the city's clean energy push can keep pace with its growth. Investors track Dubai's ability to attract foreign capital as a measure of its resilience. In 2023, Dubai drew $23 billion in foreign direct investment, edging out Riyadh with $21 billion, according to UNCTAD. Yet competition is intensifying. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030, backed by $1.3 trillion in planned projects, is luring global companies with incentives to shift regional headquarters to Riyadh. Abu Dhabi leverages its oil wealth, while Doha's LNG revenues fuel new ventures. Dubai's edge remains its established logistics hub and tourism brand, but the gap is narrowing. Shipping disruptions in the Red Sea have raised costs by 5% for Dubai's importers, a reminder that regional stability shapes the bottom line. Tourism, another pillar, brought 17 million visitors in 2023, close to pre-pandemic highs, yet global shocks can cause sharp drops, as seen during the COVID-19 crisis. In the startup sector, Dubai attracted $1.2 billion in funding last year, but regional rivals are scaling up their own tech ecosystems. The flow of capital, people, and ideas is more contested than ever, leaving Dubai exposed to forces beyond its control. Analysts and policymakers are tracking 4 possible futures for Dubai, each defined by clear, measurable thresholds. The first scenario, continued growth through diversification, depends on foreign direct investment consistently topping $20 billion a year, with tech funding rising by at least 20% as recorded by UNCTAD and the World Bank. A second, slower expansion would show up if real estate transactions fall by 10% and global interest rates stay above 5%, a trend the IMF has warned could pressure Dubai's economy. The third scenario, structural adjustment, would be triggered if municipal spending on water and energy climbs beyond 25% of the total budget, or if the city faces more than 60 days a year with temperatures above 45 degrees Celsius, as projected by the IEA and the IPCC. The fourth path, Dubai as a sustainable, technology-driven hub, will be visible if renewables provide at least half of the city's power mix and green investment becomes a driving force. These are not abstract forecasts, but testable outcomes. As these indicators shift, Dubai's future will be written in real time. Which scenario do you think is most likely? Share your view below and keep an eye on these numbers as the city's story unfolds. Dubai's future is not shaped by blueprints, but by choices made under real pressure: economic, environmental, and political. With 88% of residents expatriates and rising climate risks, stability remains a moving target. What endures is not just the skyline, but the resolve to adapt before conditions demand it. Share your thoughts below.